Welcome to the BioPharma Business Intelligence Unit, where symbolic integrity meets strategic clarity. At BBIU, we go beyond the headlines to decode the structural forces behind global biopharma, AI, and economic realignment. If you value precision, verification, and symbolic depth, this channel is for you. Subscribe now to access our weekly briefings, dossiers, and intelligence reports, and consider joining our institutional tier to unlock early warning systems, custom metrics, and exclusive strategic insight. You're not just listening, you're entering the future of epistemic intelligence. www.biopharmabusinessintelligenceunit.com.
Nexperia shock, China's export ban, and the return of the semiconductor supply nightmare. Executive summary. China's decision to impose an export ban on Nexperia products has sent shockwaves through the global automotive industry. Although Nexperia represents only 1.2% of the global automotive semiconductor market by share, it dominates in commodity semiconductors, world 1, and power semiconductors, world number 2. These components, diodes, transistors, power switches, are inexpensive but indispensable. If even a single item is missing, entire vehicle production lines stall. The ban comes after a chain of escalating measures. U.S. sanctions on Wingtech, Nexperia's parent company, and Nexperia itself. The Dutch government's unprecedented invocation of the Goods Availability Act, forcing the removal of CEO Zhang Kajeng and asserting control over company governance. Beijing's retaliation, blocking exports from Chinese plants that produce 80% of Nexperia's output. The automotive industry, especially in Europe, is now on high alert. Supply chain fragility reminiscent of the COVID-era chip shortage is re-emerging, but this time driven by geopolitics, not pandemics. Global Impact Europe accounts for 22% of Nexperia's sales, after China's 48%. Volkswagen has formed emergency task forces. BMW reports parts suppliers already affected. ASA warns that inventories may run out within weeks, halting assembly lines. United States GM launched emergency surveys across suppliers to map dependency. The Alliance for Automotive Innovation warned of imminent disruption in auto production and adjacent industries. GM's earlier efforts to reshore rare earth magnet production in the U.S. underscore a strategic pivot toward de-Chinization of critical inputs. Japan and South Korea. Toyota reported shipping disruptions from Chinese suppliers tied to Nexperia. Hyundai Motor Group is reviewing contingency measures and supply alternatives. Korean suppliers are preparing substitution plans but acknowledge limited short-term flexibility. Structural findings. Semiconductor weaponization. China has moved beyond rare earths. Nexperia shows that commodity semiconductors can also be leveraged as geopolitical weapons. Unlike high-end chips, e.g. AI GPUs, commodity semiconductors are harder to substitute quickly because they are deeply embedded in global manufacturing chains. Legal precedent, Goods Availability Act. The Netherlands created a precedent by nullifying corporate board decisions in the name of national security. This blurs the line between sovereign protection and expropriation, legitimizing future state intervention in private corporate governance. Fragility of the automotive ecosystem. A modern vehicle requires thousands of chips. Redundancy does not exist for low-cost parts because margins are thin. Nexperia, though ranked 19th in auto semiconductors, is structurally systemic because of its dominance in overlooked yet essential parts. Geopolitical signaling. The U.S. forced a European ally to act, creating a proxy regulatory intervention. China responded by showing that supply chain choke points are equally under its command. This sets the stage for future tit-for-tat escalations where automotive and industrial sectors become hostages. BBIU Structured Opinion, expanded. The Nexperia episode crystallizes a new stage in the U.S.-China technological confrontation. The U.S. has weaponized legal frameworks, sanctions, Dutch Goods Availability Act. China has retaliated with supply chain denial, targeting sectors where dependency is highest but visibility is lowest. The structural paradox, a company ranked only 19th in auto chips can paralyze global car production. This underlines that systemic risk does not emerge from market size, but from substitution bottlenecks. For South Korea, the lesson is clear. Hyundai, Kia, and their suppliers cannot rely on short-term stockpiles or flexible sourcing. Strategic autonomy in commodity semiconductors must become a national industrial priority, just as EV batteries and displays once were. For Europe and Japan, the wake-up call is sharper. The pandemic showed fragility, but Nexperia demonstrates state weaponization of fragility. The automotive sector, an emblem of industrial sovereignty, is now exposed as structurally dependent. Additional structural layer, China's extractive model. Short-term leverage. By acquiring firms abroad, absorbing know-how, and holding supply chains hostage, China gains immediate pressure points. The Nexperia ban exemplifies this logic. Medium-term backlash. Every such move accelerates de-risking and decoupling policies across the US, EU, Japan, and Korea. Western governments are erecting stronger legal barriers against Chinese M&A and investment in strategic industries. Trust erosion converts capital inflows into permanent restrictions. Long-term isolation. Extraction without renewal is unsustainable. By weaponizing acquired companies, China alienates future investors and partners. Multinationals will progressively exclude China from their innovation ecosystems. In effect, what appears as short-term dominance becomes a self-imposed exclusion from global technological frontiers. Strategic conclusion. Nexperia is not just a semiconductor bottleneck. It is a case study in how China's extractive industrial strategy produces diminishing returns. What begins as geopolitical leverage evolves into strategic self-isolation. For global automakers and policymakers, the imperative is no longer merely to diversify supply, but to acknowledge that resilience requires immunizing against extraction-based dependencies. You've reached the end of the open section of this BBIU content. The complete analysis, with full data, structural frameworks, and extended annexes, is available exclusively to our subscribers. At BBIU, we believe the real value lies beyond headlines, in the depth of structural intelligence that helps leaders and organizations see further. If you want access to the complete archive and future reports, join us at BBIU and take part in the next level of analysis.